Well, good evening. Welcome everyone to our April school board meeting. As our custom, if you will, please stand with us for the pledge led by Mr. Jones and a moment of silence.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Again, good evening. Welcome everyone. I would like to especially welcome our new board member, Miss Angie Stanley. Good to have you with us. Glad you're here. And at this time, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to the director, Mr. Carter.
We need to do the approval of the agenda and consent.
No, it's me. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda? And remember, when you approve it, it also approves the everything on the consent. Motion by Mr. Hughes.
Second.
Second by Mr. Jones. All in favor? Aye. Okay. Mr. Carter.
Thank you, Mr. Price. Moving on down to communications to the board, number 5 there. We do have the Eclipse Day that will be coming up Monday, April 8th. And we have decided that we will be out of school that day, just out of the abundance of caution. And then also we have a lot of families who will be traveling that day to areas that are more more in the totality range. So I just want to make sure, tell everybody to be safe if you're out and about or wherever you may be on that day with how you observe the eclipse. Another couple of items, April 1st through the 5th, so the week that we're currently in, is National Assistant Principal Week. I'd say thank you to all the assistant principals in our school district, that all the hard work that they put in each and every day, standing side by side with our administrators. So we appreciate our assistant principals and preparing them to step into future roles as well. So we're training up the best. We will, and I believe we mentioned this one other time, but for TCAPS, of course, state mandated testing will begin on the 15th of April and will conclude on the 30th of April. And our EOCs in the high schools will begin on the 15th as well, but that will extend over into the next week until May the 3rd. Next on our agenda, we are very honored to have with us a special group of our students who were recently representing us down in Nashville at the SCOPE conference, and Miss Madgett and Dr. Palmer were chaperoning that group down there, and I'd like for them to come up and give us a little bit of information about this year's SCOPE conference, and then to introduce our delegates that were there representing us. Dr. Palmer, I'll turn it over to you. Yes, yes.
On March 5th, TSBA hosted the 2023 Student Congress on Policy in Education, commonly referred to as the SCOPE Conference. This brings together 9th through 12th grade students from across the state to discuss current topics in education. Participants explored education issues through mock school board meetings and group discussions. At the end of the day, participants met as a congress where each group's student leader debates on the day's topics. These events are designed to give students an understanding of how school boards operate. Students express their opinions by voting on position statements involving the debate issues. This year, Sullivan County Schools took 5 students to the conference. Students, if you'll come on up. And we're going to have you all stand right over here. From Sullivan East High School, Miss Addison Holly. And if you'll come over here, Miss Addison, so everybody will know who you are. Mr. Thomas Riedelhuber Oh, right, got it, right. Miss Kaylee Collins, who is not here right now. I'll tell you about her in just a moment. From Westridge High School, we have Miss Catherine Fillers and Mr. Brock Greer. All 5 students did an excellent job participating in creating position statements for the debate issues. One Sullivan County student, Kaylee Collins, was elected last year to be the SCOPE president for the 24-25 school year. She presided over the event. I should have said 23-24, forgive me. She presided over the event, introducing speakers and running the debates. Unfortunately, she could not work out her work schedule and could not be here tonight. But I didn't want to leave her out and wanted to say how proud we are of all of our students. Congratulations to all the Sullivan County students for doing such a great job in representing our school system. So you've already given their student certificates, and guys, I did want to leave some room to give you an opportunity, and I have a special microphone for you. Because I know how much you want to talk to everybody. But I did want to give you an opportunity to speak to everyone and offer up, something about your experience or something along those lines, if you wanted to. No pressure. Anybody want to say anything? There we go.
Okay, so at Scope, they separate you into a bunch of groups, and they do like a mock school board meeting, and it was really cool to kind of see how that works and kind of be involved. Another thing was it was kind of cool to see how the different topics were kind of voted on and talked about from the kids' point of view, and it was just kind of like a different point of view. And I really appreciate, I was really grateful to be on this trip.
Very happy to have some great job. Anyone else?
It was definitely a really good experience. I'm super thankful that I got chosen to go. It's something that was really cool, and I'm super honored, like I said, to be able to represent not only my high school, but the county as a whole. Also, it was a really, really good experience, like I had said, and we got to kind of just meet new people and make good bonds, but also talk about and learn more about behind the scenes, how it works, more stuff like that, and just get to meet new people and talk about issues that we never really got to talk about before. So it was super cool.
I was really honored to be selected to go on this trip, and I really learned a lot about how school boards work to improve.
I don't really have anything to say that they didn't say, but I'll just say thank you to Sullivan County Schools for sending us down there. That was really nice sending us.
They were wonderful. It was a pleasure to take them. I know parents who'd like to get some more pictures because that's what we do, right, as parents. So if you guys want to, I'm going to step out of the way. And guys, if y'all will go ahead, and if you want to come up a little closer and get a good photograph of your students. And, I don't want to break the cameras. And then, board, if you have any questions when they finish with the pictures, of course, I wanted to entertain those if you wanted to ask anything about their experiences. Board, do you have any questions? Okay. Thank you all.
Thank you, you're more than welcome to stay and see the real thing in action, but you're also welcome to leave at this time if you have other places you need to get to, okay? So please feel free. Next on our agenda, under unfinished business, we had the policy change to the homeschool 6.202 policy, which just removed the language about immunizations. And so we need to make a recommendation to accept that policy.
I make a motion to approve.
Motion by Ms. Stanley. Can I get a second? Second by Mr. Robinson. Any discussion? We're ready to vote.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Letter B, as we talked and discussed in the work session, through the online auction, we did have one bid that exceeded the minimum price that we were seeking for the empty lot on Henry Har Road. Lands to Homes Company placed a bid for $52,000. And I'd like to recommend that we accept that and go to the county commission to finish that process to sell that property to Lands to Home for $52,000.
Heard the recommendation from Mr. Carter. Can I get a motion in support of that?
I make a motion that we accept the offer and that we pass the resolution to ask the county commission to approve the sale of this for $52,000.
Motion by Mr. Jones, second.
Second, Mr. Chairman.
Second by Mr. Hughes. Any further discussion on this matter? Ready to vote.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. All right, letter C. I think on letter C, Mr. Hughes, would you like to do the middle school project and also talk about the additional one in that for East High School as well?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
I will begin by talking about the project at Sullivan East Middle School. I'm going to make a motion to move $850,000 from the fund balance to use toward the project, the Innovative School Model Grant, add that with that money. We have a estimate of $1.3 million, which gives us a little bit of room for cushion. So I make the motion that we move $850,000 out of the fund balance to use with the Innovative School Model Grant to build 4 classrooms at the Sullivan East High School, Sullivan East Middle School campus.
You've heard the motion by Mr. Hughes. Can I get a second?
Second.
Second by Dr. Rouse. Any discussion on this?
Just to note that it is $850,000 out of fund balance rather than $825 that we talked about in the work session. So for those back there, that's the change.
Ready to vote?
I have a question. All this for the adding the 4 classrooms, is that still leaving us room if we need to add more? Because I have heard the numbers and seen the numbers where they're growing. Have we looked at the projections to see how long down the road we think this is going to get us? Because I'm guessing 4 classrooms, minimum 80 more kids we're adding room for.
Yes. The school, when it was built, was designed so that it could be built onto on both ends. The stairwells were built extra wide, and so that either end would accommodate an addition. So the answer is yes. And by the way, to Mr. Jones's comment, I rounded the 825, 380 up to an even number. Whatever's left out of the project will return to fund balance. So. Any other questions for anyone?
Now we're ready to vote. Yes.
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 Next project I want to talk about is, as everyone recalls, we had approved money to do the baseball lights, and then we came back and had a pole break on the softball sales. So we approved money to do the softball lights, the tennis lights, the drainage. So in that process, we found out that the football lights complicate the baseball lights in that some of those poles are shared. So tonight, I'm going to make a motion that we add $250,000, again, rounding that up to accommodate any contingencies, and to do the football lights too. Will mention here, like I did upstairs, that the lights that are on the football field are so old that when the contractors came to look at, they had never seen those type lights in their careers. So new lights will also be much more efficient. Just turning those lights on, those old type lights, is a huge cost. So this is going to be really cost effective, and football is much cheaper than baseball because the lights are parallel instead of encompassing a sort of a circle. So anyway, I make the motion that we take $250,000 out of fund balance to do the football lights at East. And these lights, somebody asked me, these lights will also include what Westridge has, the flashing thing, that lights that are so popular with all that's included in this project.
Again, you've heard the motion by Mr. Hughes. Can I get a second? Second by Mr. Robinson. Any further discussion on this?
This will require a resolution to the county commission also.
Yes. Resolution.
Will have to be presented to the county commission.
Ms. King.
Yes.
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 Under new business, number 7 there, letter A, just like to recommend we approve the student fee list for the 2024-2025 school year.
Second.
Any discussion? Ms. King.
Yes.
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 Letter B, Miller Perry, we've discussed this in our work session, and it's been a conversation, but before the next heating season begins, the boiler is going to need to be replaced at Miller Perry. So I'd like to recommend that we form a resolution or approve to move $300,000 to the general fund, from the general fund balance to complete this project, and it would require a resolution from the county commission to proceed with that.
Make a motion to approve.
Motion by Ms. Stanley. Can I get a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Hughes. Any further discussion on this? Ready to vote, Ms. King.
Yes.
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 Thank you. On letter C, these are 2 ESSER projects at Sullivan Heights Middle School. We had allocated a certain amount of money, $250 for each project, and both of those have came in over on the bids. So tonight, would like to ask that we proceed with accepting the bid for the Sullivan Heights Middle School track to complete that project out of the ESSER funds. But then for the tennis courts, we're going to drop back and rebid that and include some items to have as alternate options for us, such as reducing it down to 4 as opposed to 8 tennis courts, looking at what potentially could be done about the spectator space, an alternate for a fence, and then potentially adding shadow lines for pickleball as well on those courts. So the vote tonight would be to proceed with the Sullivan Heights Middle School track as an ESSER project, and then to rebid on the tennis courts. And I believe, Mr. Jones, do you have those numbers that you calculated up, if we want to share those?
Yes. Now, the recommendation will be to accept the bid for the track plus a 6-foot fence plus the pad that goes with it. The grand total was $383,144 for that project. Number? $383,144.
Heard the recommendation. Can I get a motion to that effect?
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Hughes. Can I get a second? Second by Mr. Robinson. Any further discussion? We're ready to vote.
Yes.
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 Okay. Moving on to our federal budget amendments, I'd like to request that we group letters A, B, and C. Those are just general revisions of moving funds from one line to another. So I'd like to group those three together. The Title I-A revision 4, the ARP homeless 2.0 revision, and the ESSER 3.0 revision.
Heard the recommendation. Can I get a motion?
I make a motion that we combine Title I-A Revision 4, ARP Homeless 2.0 Revision 1, and ESSER 3.01 Revisions 3, and I make the motion to approve all three.
Motion by Mr. Hughes. Can I get a second?
Second.
Second by Dr. Rouse. Any discussion? We're ready to vote.
Yes.
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 Next, we have general purpose budget amendments that you have. I'd like to ask that we approve those.
Heard the recommendation. Can I get a motion for approval? Motion by Mr. Robinson,
Second.
second by Ms. Stanley. Any discussion?
Yes.
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 And letter F is just a budget amendment to the Discovery Academy to just amend that budget for Ms. Nestor.
Heard the recommendation from Mr. Carter. Can I get a motion for approval? Motion by Dr. Rouse. Can I get a second? Second by Mr. Jones. Any discussion? Ready to vote.
Yes.
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 Turn it back over to you.
That brings us to our public comment section on non-agenda items, and I did not get any forms from anybody wishing to speak this evening. Is there anybody out there that would like to? Seeing none. Brings us to a couple things that we need to look at calendars as far as the our next meeting date for May will be May the 2nd. Is that correct? Work session at 4:30, regular scheduled meeting at 6:30. And if you will, look ahead to June and July. Both of those dates probably need to be changed due to the June meeting. Mr. Carter's going to be at a principal's retreat, and the July meeting is over the 4th, and we're going to be closed that day. So the recommended dates that will probably work best are June the 11th and July the 9th. Does anybody have any problems right now off the bat with either of those dates? June the 11th and July the 9th. Everybody good with that? We'll go ahead and go ahead and set those dates. If we need to address them in May, we can. But for now, we'll set them for. Oh, right. And also, we will have a special, thank you. We have a special call meeting on April the 15th at 4:30. If you want to explain what that's.
So April 10th is the bid opening for the West Ridge Access Road. So to assure that we have time to get this in front of the county commission to be approved to move forward, we'll need to have a special call meeting on the 15th so we can approve the winning bid, and then still have 3 days to get that over to the county commission for approval there. So hence the need for the meeting on the 15th.
Thank you. And I just handed everybody the conflict of interest disclosure statement. If you will just fill that out. I try to do this annually. We need to fill these out and turn these in. Other than that, congratulations to the Scope, the kids that went to Scope. That's a pretty big deal. I was impressed when we went to TSBA in Nashville and heard the Scope president actually speak to all of us at TSBA in Nashville. That's a big accomplishment, and congratulations to those guys. I can't believe that spring break's come and gone, and we're looking towards graduation and end of the year stuff, and I just good luck with all the EOC tests and the TCAPs and all of that. And I think we've got a lot of good things coming in the near future, especially with all these projects, and hopefully we can keep moving forward and getting better and doing things better for the kids and for the community. And at that, I'm going to turn it over to, yep, it's going to turn it over to, go ahead.
I want to present something to the board that we're going to do the work session. I'll explain it.
Go ahead.
The information that I have given you is a spreadsheet that I put together from the comptroller of the treasurer's office. Dates back from 2005 to 2023. But what I want to call your attention to is the bottom 4 rows, looking at the years 2014 up through 2023. You heard our discussion tonight about taking money from the fund balance and paying for projects, and we're right now have committed $7,850,000 out of our fund balance. And the question comes up, how do we build a fund balance as big as what we have? And I wanted to show you this spreadsheet to give you an answer. And Ms. Buckles, I have an extra copy here that you might be interested in. I'll draw your attention to the year 2007. We had excess sales tax of $883,652. That gradually increased until the year 2021. And we had excess sales tax then of $3,712,924. If you notice, that's the year of COVID. That's the year we got a lot of ESSER money and a lot of other monies that came in to the communities. So the sales tax went up, inflation went up. By law, we get 50% of sales tax collection. Now that's prorated out by the different schools in the district, but that is a requirement that we get 50% of sales tax collections. And when we budgeted during these years, we always take a look at predicting revenue and predict those revenue as closely as we can and as conservative as we can. And you'll notice that in the year 2016, we only collected $883,000 more. We no longer do our own projections. That's done by the finance department, and our sales tax collections were increased this year to where we will not be building much of increase in our fund balance at the end of this year. there's pros and cons to that. The money that we get in, that we put in fund balance, we can use for all these projects that we've been talking about, the 7.8 million. I think it's important to also remember that at the bottom, and I would tell you in green, but mine's color-coded in green, the 8-year total of excess sales tax is $13,105,268. But in addition to that, we sold 2 school buildings, and we got approximately $3 million from Colonial Heights and Bluntville Middle, Bluntville Elementary campus. So that brings us up to 16 million sales or fund balance there. If you take the 16 million away from the 27 million, we've only increased our fund balance by 11 million in the last 10 years. And I think that's crucial to see where the fund balance money is coming from. Now, we know that in the future, there's things coming up that we're going to need to spend some money and some big dollars for some of the projects, whether it be at Miller Perry or some other school. But if we didn't have the fund balance, there's no way that we could have funded tonight the baseball lights at East, the softball lights, the press box, the football lights, and the other items that we have mentioned. We also know here that there's going to be money coming out of fund balance for the rest of the sewer line that will go in at East, and there's no way that we could commit to that if we did not have a good fund balance. If anyone's interested in a copy of this, I'll be glad to get you a copy. But this comes from the Tennessee Comptroller's Office, showing exactly how much fund balance we have. Any questions about what I have there? The other item that we did not discuss in our work session, on ESSER 3 money, Ms. Buckles, do we have $100,000 set aside for the Sullivan Height or Sullivan Gardens canopy? So it's no longer, okay. I want to make sure we didn't lose that. That's what Mr. Roberts and I were talking about here earlier. So it's not part of the budgeted money then. So the only thing we have to be considered of is that $116,000 that we talked about in our work session. Okay. Thank you.
I also have a question, if I might. Mr. Carter, I just wanted to know, how are we still moving forward on preparing the budget and looking at the 15% raise? And I don't need a long explanation. I'm just bringing it to the forefront again.
Thank you, Dr. Rouse. Yes, we are. We've met with all the schools. The departments are putting in theirs. And so I guess the next stage will be getting together. We've got a meeting tomorrow, actually, Ms. Buckles and Mr. Loesch and myself. So, yes, we are moving forward, but and the 15% is on our radar.
Thank you.
Mr. Jones, can I ask a question about your numbers and so forth? The law requires that we hold 3% of our budget, correct?
Yes.
Is that still a good practice considering the rate of inflation? I mean, the law is probably not kept up.
Well, the state comptroller, Mr. Mumpower, stated that we should have 16%, I believe is the figure he used in the newspaper report. You could double check me that, Mr. Reidner. I think you wrote the article, but I believe it was 16% that he had down that we should have. And 16% of our $90 million is about 13 million. Is that right? It's probably close. The 3% of our budget would be about 3 million that we would be required to have. Anything above the 3 million, we can budget for the next year if we need to for non-recurring expenses. But I think it's crucial, again, to understand where the fund balances come from, and it's not from just not spending the money that we had budgeted. We were conservative and was able to make some of that there, but most of it is because of the excess sales tax. And again, that won't happen this year. Anything we get in fund balance this year, if we were to get any, would be simply because we were able to conserve certain line items. Is that right, Mr. Loesch?
Products, the prices of the things that we've just priced are just a clear indication, really, of the increases we've had since 2019. I mean, in some cases, almost doubled. I mean, we have some real-life comparisons that we can look at, and in many cases, the prices have doubled, and in some cases, tripled. So I think it's important as we budget going forward, we kind of keep that in mind.
Anything? I guess that brings us to our board member comments. Mr. Spivey, I'll start with you.
And I would echo what Mr. Price said. It's hard to believe we're sitting here 6 weeks away roughly from graduation in the school year. It has flown by. I'm sure teachers may disagree some days, but agree overall. I can't remember the last time I talked about this and if I had gone before our last board meeting. So the extent I repeat myself, I apologize, but we've talked about it in the past, but I just think sometimes we don't highlight enough of the good things that are going on. We tend to focus on the bad. And I mean, one thing I can say, you know, my seat is basically 99% Kingsport City. And I've reiterated repeatedly that I think one of the biggest assets we have in this region is public education. And we have 3 wonderful school systems in Sullivan County. But what I have seen repeatedly is just the dedication, the amount of innovation of this school system is astounding. And what I'm referring to is just one example, but I could go all the way back to the CKLA pilot programs and now how so many other districts are using that kind of literacy program. But what I'm talking about is the dyslexia kind of research and training that Rock Springs Elementary and their staff basically took upon themselves and has helped to open the eyes of not only this whole school system, but other systems, and it's expanding out to Knoxville area, asking for trainings from them. And I actually had put them in touch with somebody in Virginia who also was interested. And I say that because it dovetails on Mr. Jones' point. It's easy to talk about, well, you better maintain it this time. But you have to understand how complex school financing is, and yet how little a school board in Tennessee has control over how it spends its money. What little control we did have through projecting revenues was taken away through the Financial Management Act that was passed by our county. I mean, I'm not saying that's good or bad. It's just a fact because we don't set those revenues. And what we've seen since then is we have seen the sales tax projections, which are mandated by law to be shared 50% with us, be increased as a projection while they continue to take away from the strongest asset that we have in a community, which is property tax. And those are not being spent on public education at the same percentage of taxes in your community. And I say that because it goes back to what I said in the last meeting. It's really important to think about the overall impact this can have on a community. That's what's so great about public educators. They do compete, but they innovate and they grow together as a community. They train each other because they care about kids. They care about all kids, not just the kids that make the good grades, not just the kids that are good at sports, that can be picked for exclusive schools, but everybody. And to the extent that, you know, tax dollars, what are they for? They're for our community. I know I'm kind of going off track here, but I just think too often we ignore those things, and it's easy to point to a fund balance. And that's why I appreciate Mr. Jones, the former math teacher, breaking it down, because you have to put that piece with how the money comes in. It's easy to have a snippet and say, they have a 20-something million fund balance. Why aren't they maintaining their schools? I've been not only impressed with our administrators, our teachers, but the innovation that this board, and I don't mean myself, I mainly refer back to Director Rafalowski and Mr. Hughes and Mr. Jones when they were board chairman. It should be appreciated how we get here. You know, and there's a big difference between saying that we're not going to politic or fight with the county commission. I have no problem debating an issue. That is not fighting. That is being an adult and talking about facts. What is not doing that and what is not benefiting kids is when we do have these snippets and these sound bites without facts. So I say all that to say I know that, you know, I've only been here 8 years, but I've seen a lot of things, and I'm not saying this to applaud myself, but it's for our administrators, our teachers, and what this board has been able to do, all the while having to fight tooth and nail, and has probably spent the most money on facilities that the school system has in 40 years. I mean, we built the first new school when I came on the board. The last one that was a brand new school that had been built, I wasn't even born yet. And I'm 43. I turned 43 this week. So I say all that to just say sometimes it really is important to get into the facts and go beyond just a snippet or just pointing to a number with a soundbite. And so I really appreciate you providing that, Mr. Jones. I really would encourage anybody that wants to learn more about public education. Our administrators, our teachers, if you ask them a question, they'll give you the answer. And it's not political. It's not based on anything but what they care about, and that's trying to help our community and help our kids. And we got a really good presentation in that same vein based on some questions Mr. Jones had about wanting to keep kids in our system from Mr. Palmer and Mr. Hilton and Miss French. So I wish there was more articles about things like that, because too often what I've seen in the 8 years I'm here is Sullivan County is one of the leading innovators, not just in our county as a school system, but in the Northeast Tennessee region and the state. Yet the same techniques that they do, you know, on a shoestring end up getting adopted by cities and other places that don't have to play petty politics with a 20-something member body that is interested in getting that one-liner in the paper or the news. So I'm not sure what the point of that was, other than to say thank you to our school system, and I'm continue to be impressed.
Thank you, Mr. Spivey. Mr. Jones, nothing else? Mr. Robinson.
Yeah, I don't think I really say much after theirs. So very proud of our school system. Very glad to see some of the things that we've been needing fixed for quite a while starting to get done. It's going to help our schools. And I think the 4 classrooms at East is going to be huge. I think we all knew that voted on when that school got built that it wasn't going to hold as many students as it was going to have there, and we're already starting to see that. So that's a good thing. So see you in April the 15th.
Mr. Hughes.
Thank you. During our workshop, I learn a lot of new things all the time, but one of the things I heard today was 161 homeless children in our school system. Pardon me? 164. Was it 160? Okay. That's just a shocking, sad number. Almost 2%. I mean, that tells you what our teachers and administrators are working with. Can you imagine coming to school, slept in a car, don't know where you're going to sleep that night, don't know. So I think the things that we do are magnified by the fact that we take every child and many of them very poor. And, you know, you were calling some names, and I'll call some more. In the back room, they sat. Those ladies have a sharp pencil, and they have put us in the position we're in, and I don't know where we would be without those ladies, so thank you. And those things we got to do tonight were the results of those sharp pencils and hard decisions and unpopular things we've had to do, so I recognize that. Tonight, I want to point out something else that I would like the board to take a few moments to look at. I gave everyone, except for Mr. Jones, and Mr. Jones, I have you a copy, I think, last month, of the pay scale, which I'm sure you probably know it anyway, for our one of our classes of employees, namely our maintenance employees. I think we ought to take a look at that. And I'm not going to bore you with all the math that I've worked on, but you can see it for yourself. I'm going to point out a few highlights. Our highest pay classification starts out at $17.50, and everyone here tonight has mentioned the rate of inflation and the cost of doing business, and that applies to people in their individual households as well. So you look at that pay scale, and on the lower end, we start employees out at $13 an hour, and on the upper end at $17.50. And if you look down after 30 years, a 30-year employee, an HVAC employee, for example, and that falls under SS7 in our classifications, that employee gets up to $21.50. Now, just roughly speaking, that's about 23% over a 30-year period. And spread out over the pay scale, you can look at beginning year 15 to year 19, no raise. Then a very small raise, and through 2024, no raise. And then from 25 to 29, no raise. And you look at the highest pay scales in each category after 30 years, you got $15.30, $16.70, $18.40, $19, $19.80, $20.25, and $21.50. Our foremans make $25 an hour. Their phones are on 24 hours a day. Now, I don't have a proposal. I'm working on some things, but I wanted everyone to brainstorm and to look at this. You know, we talk about a 15% raise, and it sounds just shockingly great, you know. But if you look at it, for that 25-year guy, he's still not making $25 an hour. A person that's trained in HVAC, for example, still not making $25 an hour after 30 years. I know we all say, well, we have benefits. You can't eat benefits. You can't make house payments with benefits. You can't make car payments with benefits. So over 30 years in most categories, the raise over 30 years is less than 1% a year. It's 0.77 or something. So I just think that it's incumbent upon us, the people in charge, to pay attention. And there's things here yet I'm not to discover. But this is just one thing that I've noticed when we're talking about inflation and raises and things we're trying to do. How in the world is Charlie Hubbard or anybody supposed to hire and maintain people and keep them on the job and hold them accountable for $21.50 after 30 years? People who can go in the industry now and get 35 or 40. You see the minimum wage in a lot of places going up. The cost of living has went up. The cost of businesses went up. That includes us. And I just think, I don't mean to insult anyone, because I should have known this and I didn't. Maybe everybody else here already knows this, but it didn't hit me until I kind of saw it. And when I see numbers, it makes more sense to me than hearing things. And when I saw this, I thought it was something I should share with you guys, and maybe we could brainstorm and see what we could do about the pay scale. And if there's other things maybe we come across, we'll talk about those too. Those as well. I wanted to do this in the workshop, but we just ran out of time. And I'm not pointing any fingers or blaming anybody. The world has changed. If you go back just to 2019, these were still not really good wages, but, they were a lot better in context to what things cost. So that's really all I wanted to do tonight, is to get some people looking at it and thinking. We got a lot of smart people sitting around this table, and that I thought should put some thought into it. I don't know exactly how to go about it. I have an idea, but I really just wanted to bring it to everyone's attention and point out that, those folks come to us last year, and we just couldn't really do much of anything last year because of the new funding mechanism and everything that was handed to us. And I probably didn't pay as close attention to it then as I should have, but I do see it now. And I hope that you'll take a look at it. And if you've lost whatever I handed you last month, I've got 4 copies tonight. But thanks for your indulgence, and that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thanks, sir. Dr. Rouse.
I would like to say happy birthday, Mr. Spivey. I won't comment on that. And also, I'd just like to say ditto to everything that you said, and thank you for that. Again, congratulations to our SCOPE students. We do mainly just hear the negative things about our students. Anywhere you go, that's what you hear. But the students that we have here every month, and like the SCOPE students, that just reiterates and increases my faith in what we are doing in public education, and that there are good students out there, and that they will continue when, as we said earlier, if we do the lights at East, we'll be dead and gone by the time they're replaced. These kids here are going to be leading Sullivan County when the rest of us are going on. Also, I'd like to say to the assistant principals are the backbone of a school. A principal can only be as good as their assistants are. Because if you can trust them, if you can rely on them, they're going to get their job done without you watching them. That frees you up to do the other things that you need to do in the classroom. So to every assistant principal out there that's supporting a principal, my hat's off to you, and I thank you for what you're doing.
Ms. Stanley.
I just want to say it's such a honor and privilege to be able to sit here in this seat and serve with each and every one of you all. And I thank the commission for having the faith in me to appoint me to this position until September. Also, I want to say congratulations to the students for representing our school system in Nashville. Also, I got to go do the dyslexic thing at Rock Springs, and it was an eye-opener. My he's dyslexic, so I got to see through my eyes what he got to see when he was in school, and it was a big eye-opener for me. So I plan on going to all the schools and visiting with all of the principals and assistant principals and sitting down and introduce myself to them. Not only do I represent my district, but I represent Sullivan County School System as a whole. And I just want to thank all the principals and stuff that I've already talked to for being opening their doors to me and letting me come by and visit. And I look forward to serving with y'all for another 3 months.
Anything else? Motion to adjourn.
Excuse me, I'm just letting you hear. I have 1 minute of more time. I'm not here to drop anything.
We'll give you 3 minutes for public comment, but it's not a question and answers. If you want to ask a question, we'll be glad to, Mr. Carter will probably be glad to talk to you after this is over.
I'll take the 3 minutes. Well, I just need 3 minutes.
Okay. All right. If you come on up to the podium.
Morning, Board, or afternoon.
Will you tell us your name and address?
Yeah, my name is William Cheffran. I'm Staff Sergeant, United States Army. I've got 2 kids in Sullivan East. Well, one just graduated last year. I have one in the 9th grade this year. Now, unfortunately, I've been deployed around the world for the last 4.5 years. I got back in July of this year. My daughter is a ninth grader. Due to the fact that I'm military, I'm divorced, single parent, but my daughter is 14 years old, goes to Sullivan East, does not know the difference between a nickel or a dime. I went into the laws and stuff, or the rules that the county has and everything. I go to see my daughter on parent-teacher conference day. Half the students there are wearing pajamas. That's not supposed to be. I'm just, and accountability, my daughter's got 24 absences just this year, and it seems like every time she shows up with a parent's note from her mother or a doctor's note from the doctor that she's not seen, it's excused. It's excused. She's got a 1.7 grade point average. She can barely read or write. She's in the ninth grade. She has zero reality, real world knowledge. I mean, you set her in front of a computer, an iPod or something like that, she's great. But she has no concept of a nickel or a dime, people. A nickel or a dime. And I'm not here to bash Sullivan County. I went to Sullivan County. I went to Sullivan East. I just want to know what is being done about all these absentees. And my daughter is not the only one. Now, granted, I mean, I'm not there for her because I've been in 17 different countries in the past 5 years. But my concern is I send my daughter to school to ensure that she has an education. And she has not. She's barely getting by. She's 14 years old. I'm retiring as of this year. I got 4 years left of my daughter before she becomes an adult. If you turn her out in the adult world now, at 15 and a half, you can go to PALS and get a job. She's not even going to be able to run the register or the fry machine. And then you constantly hear, you said it yourself, man, all we hear is the negative stuff, and I'm not trying to be negative. But all you hear is how all the county schools, not only in Tennessee but Virginia, are grooming the students for Walmart, Target, Family Dollar, General Dollar. But yet you see the city schools grooming their kids for college, or vocational. I've got nothing wrong with vocational. I mean, I'm a career soldier. I've done good in life. But as a vocation, I do good vocationally too. I just left some rental property. That's why I was late. I apologize, just trying to update it. But my question is, what has been done about the absentees? Who has been held accountable? When I went and spoke to the assistant principal at Sullivan East, he said, well, we can send a homebound teacher to her. And he's like, and I was like, well, you got all these doctors. He says, we can't ask that because it's a generic excuse because of medical. Well, I'm fine with that. But when you get 6 straight absentees from the same child, from the same doctor in the same month, does that not throw up a flag? The same student is missing school, and then who's calling? Who's calling these single parents or calling the other parent? I've been on my daughter's paperwork in the school system since she was at Weaver's, the first grade. You can call me anywhere in the world. My phone rings. This one right here does. When I went and did the parent-teacher conference, well, Mr. Fran, we didn't even know you was involved. All we had is an old number from Bluff City Elementary. I said, call it. And she just looked at me like I was stupid. So then they called it and it rang. My daughter, her picture, all the schools, you got a picture in the top right corner of the student in her file. It's from the 4th grade. I mean, who is updating all this stuff? I could drive out there, pull up, load my daughter up and leave, and they have no idea who I am. None whatsoever. And it's concerning to me as a parent. It's concerning to me as a Sullivan County resident that my daughter is not getting the basic fundamentals to add, subtract, divide, read, write, or even look for vocational. They had a big show there March the 22nd, I want to say, where they were presenting the art from all the students. The bands played, the choir played, and all that. I mean, them students got up there. I give them credit for public show, but all they done was beat the hell out of some instruments, and they give them participation awards. That's not preparing our children who are run. I'm 50 years old. It's not preparing our children to run this county, the city, the state, or this country if they're in the 9th grade and don't know the difference between a nickel and a dime. And she's not the only one. I've spoken to 8 or 9 of her friends between the whole group. They do good to add up $4. How did I find out? I brought my daughter $49 worth of silver and nickels and dimes. I said, how much is there, honey? And she just looked at me. Dad, I don't know. Well, silver way. I said, no, honey, how much is there? There's $3 in nickels and dimes. And she didn't know the difference.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to me.
And I'll be glad to meet with you after the meeting and get some more information, okay? I definitely would.
I would love to. And again, I'm not here to bash or to cause a scene or nothing like that. I just.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anything else? Motion to adjourn? So moved. So moved.